everyone, and welcome to part 3 of my question and answer videos. We've made it. This is the final installment of the question and answer series that I was doing. And I really hope y'all enjoyed these videos. And again, thank you so much for sending in your questions. I had a lot of fun answering them. So without further ado, let's begin with the video. Cliff Gallup or Grady Martin? Man, I gotta say both, right? I gotta have both. You know, in my early 20s, I gotta admit, I was a Cliff Gallup fanboy. But nowadays, you know, I appreciate Cliff Gallup and Grady Martin equally. Both were amazing, both are super great, and I respect both of them the same. They're very different from each other, and I love them both equally just as much. I mean, they bring so much to the world of rockabilly. Yeah, they're both great. Mike Sardo asks, when you first showed interest in the guitar, were you encouraged to pursue it? And what type of music was being played in the household while you were growing up? Very good question. My parents are very supportive of what I'm doing with this music and guitar thing. They are extremely supportive, and they've been supportive about what I'm doing for many years. But in the beginning, when I first started showing interest in wanting to play guitar, and it was a hard convincing to get one. You know, I had to ask a lot. And originally, I think they always saw the guitar as, you know, as a hobby, and it should be treated as such a thing. But little by little, they saw, especially after I graduated high school, that this instrument has something that's been part of my life and how I make money for my entire life. So they've been very supportive, you know, once they realized that it wasn't just a hobby for me, and that guitar playing and music is part of my life. It's what I do. It's who I am. Now, as a kid, I was definitely exposed to some really good music through them. In the car, my father played a lot of Rolling Stones and Beach Boys, and my mom had a really good Beatles collection. She had all those Capitol Beatles albums, you know, the very early stuff. And I eventually took those records and I just brought them into my room. I took them, made them mine. I've got a little speed round here. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 speed round questions I'm going to read off my computer screen. Arch top or solid body? Arch top. Tube amp or modeling amp? Tube amp. But you know what? Tube amps, in a couple of years, man, they may be gone, right? They're just not as popular anymore. But you know, I love using them, you know, just out of nostalgia. You know, it's something I've always used. I don't have a problem with modeling amps or these Tone Masters by Fender. I have no problem with that. I just, you know, I like tube amps. I like using them, and I don't have any issue with using something else. I just kind of use what I like, and I like what I like, right? But who knows, you know, you remember when vinyl went away and we thought CDs were the only thing that we're ever going to need and want? Man, CDs kind of went away, but vinyl's back. I'm glad it's back too. I always love the sound of vinyl. All right, moving on. This is a speed round. I'm not making it very speedy. Vintage guitars or new guitars? Oh, both. Do you have a favorite brand of amps? Yes, Fender. Who was your first guitar hero? George Harrison. Kevin Taylor asks, what is your preferred reverb pedal if you use one? Well, Kevin, usually I'll use an amp that has a reverb, and if I'm using something like that, I'll have reverb turned on. Sometimes I don't, but I usually have a smidge of reverb turned on. But I used to use a reverb pedal. I still will probably use it again. I just haven't used it in a while, but I used to use it very often. And that pedal is my Boss 63 reverb pedal. And if you're looking to get a similar sound to a Fender Spring Tank, I mean, this is going to help you achieve that. Now, these pedals, they're not made any longer, and the prices on them have really skyrocketed. On Reverb or eBay, they can go for around $200. But it's a pretty cool pedal. I would suggest picking one up. You know, it's kind of pricey, but there may be better alternatives, but that's something that I have and that I like. Again, though, it's been a while since I've used it, but it is a cool pedal. I'm glad I own it. Here's a good question from Sean Lester, 7429. As a musician, how do you maintain the passion and enthusiasm for writing, performing, and playing? Do you ever have moments where you need a break from it all? I remember in my 20s, I thought my guitar playing had plateaued, that I thought, what's left? Or where can I take guitar music? Or, what do I have to offer? But it was just for a short moment that I thought that, because I realized that guitar playing is a lifelong journey. And I personally wanted to keep on getting better and improving on my technique and what I was playing. Basically just wanted to better myself on the instrument. And even to this day, I'm constantly learning new techniques, new songs. I'm always trying to keep things fresh. So to answer your question, no, I don't personally ever lose the enthusiasm or the passion to play. Not ever, really. I'm crazy about guitar. I hate to say this because I don't want it to just be my identity, But guitar really is my identity. I love playing. I love listening to music. I love, studying the guitar. I love the histories of guitar. I'm just kind of like guitar crazy, which I'm sure many of you who are watching this channel feel the same way. You're probably guitar crazy as well, so we're not alone. So some advice I could give to people that may be like losing the enthusiasm of playing or just getting bored or feeling like they're in a rut, just keep chipping away slowly at something, because even if you're chipping away slowly at something that's really hard, you're going to eventually learn it. It may take a little longer, but you're going to improve. In the 1990s, I finally picked up some Charlie Christian music, and I was stoked and I wanted to take it home and listen to it and steal some of his licks, and that didn't happen at first. I couldn't figure out what he was playing. It was over my head, And it took me years to figure out how to play some of Charlie Christian's stuff. I just chipped at it slowly, note by note, lick by lick. But I can play his stuff now, and at first, man, I didn't think I could, but that's changed. I can play some of his material now. And it feels good to say that, because Charlie Christian is the man, right? I mean, he's the genius of the electric guitar. But guitar playing for me is so much fun. I'm always noodling on the instrument. Like I said, it's part of my identity. I just love playing it. But that's what I do to keep things fresh. I'm constantly learning something new. Maybe I'm not tackling a huge piece, but I'm tackling something small. Little tidbits here and there can go a long way, and that's what I do to keep things fresh. Whether it's something short, sweet, or something long, I'm at it, chipping it away, and I love playing. John Esposito asks, how do you link runs and follow chord changes? Well, sometimes I focus on the notes that are part of the chord scale, primarily using the root, and I incorporate it into a lick over the current chord. And when I play, I'll use notes from the corresponding scale to create licks that fit within the chord changes. And I'll also anticipate the next chord change. And I'll plan a lick to land on a note that naturally connects to the upcoming chord root. Do you have a favorite pickup? Yeah, I maybe like 3. I love Filtertrons, I love P90s, and I love the Gibson P13 pickups. Oh, I love them. Oh, and I can't forget this honorable mention. I really love the original 1950s DeArmond Dynasonics. And here's the next question. I was asked, Damian, what is some of your favorite modern rockabilly albums? Well, I've got a ton, and it was really hard to decide, but I went over to my CD collection over here, and I just grabbed a couple of CDs from the 80s and 90s that I really dug. Here is Big Sandy and his Fly Right Boys. I love Ashley Kingman on guitar. Of course, this is a great band, been around forever, and this is a great album, Jumping from 6 to 6. And here's an album from the mid-90s that I listened to quite a lot. This is the Belmont Playboys, and this album is called Wolf Patrol. And I think they were based out of North Carolina, and they got a bunch of original songs, and they got some covers by Joe Clay, and there's a Link Ray cover on here. Yeah, there's some good stuff on here, some good instrumentals, pretty good inspiring guitar playing. Dug it. Also, from the UK, Restless. Neo-rockabilly at its finest, really good stuff. Yeah, great guitar playing here by Mark Harmon. Why Don't You Just Rock, name of this album. Also, this record, I used to listen to this a lot. Oh, such great catchy rockabilly songs here. This is the Space Cadets from England. This is also featuring Mark Harmon, Ricky Lee Braun on drums. It's basically a all-star band. Here's something also I really liked listening to a lot. Johnny Bach with his Moonshine Boozers. featuring the awesome guitar work of Daryl Hyam. He's such a great player. This is a great album, lots of fun to listen to. And of course here, man, this was such an inspiration. I used to listen to this non-stop. Stray Cats, Choo Choo Hot Fish. Some people dig it, some people don't, some people just think it's okay. I used to listen to this version of Mystery Train a bunch. We got Jade Idol on here. Beautiful Blues, that's another great jazzy tune. Please Don't Touch, oh, that cover. Love this record. Yeah, good stuff here. Paul asks, how to change chords and make it sound smooth? Really, I think it just comes down to practice and repetition. I really think that's the trick. I'd say just keep at it, and I feel you. You know, making a smooth transition to other chords while you're playing, it can be tricky. I remember this transition was always difficult. Just keep at it, Paul. You'll get it. I believe in you. Damian, were you always into rockabilly or old school music? Yes, definitely. As a kid, I always loved Elvis Presley. I loved his music. I thought Elvis was so cool. Loved watching the movies as a kid. When I was little too, my parents in their record collection had like a volume 1, 2, and 3, a compilation of those oldies but goodies compilations. I loved all the music on that. And when the Buddy Holly story movie aired on television, I think it was probably 1980, I saw that. Oh man, that blew me away, and it made me an instant Buddy Holly fan. And even as a teenager, I would always listen to music from the 50s, even though my main music that I listened to was either punk, metal, new wave, shoegaze type of music. You know, I was young, I was listening to current music of people my age. That's the stuff I listened to, but I did listen to, as a teenager, in middle school and high school, I listened to The Ventures a lot. And it wasn't weird for me to listen to Chuck Berry, and then listen to Slayer, and then maybe listen to Richie Valens, and then, you know, up to Iron Maiden. You know, it was just something I would listen to as well, and it didn't get as much rotation. But that all would change for me by the time I hit my 20s. By the time I was 21, I was really digging the rockabilly music, and the rest is history. And I also listened to, in the 80s, some good old honky-tonk country. Got my Dwight Yoakam cassette here that I got for Christmas one year. Mom put it in the stocking for me. Yeah, this is a good album. Some good guitar playing on this. It's a good record. Paul asks, I'd like to know your thoughts on Randy Rhoads, and what is some of your favorite music by Randy? Randy, he's one of my favorite guitar heroes. I've read just about every book there is on his life, studied almost everything I could about Randy, bought everything there is to buy with Randy Rhoads in it, or shirt, memorabilia, you name it, you know. Love Randy Rhoads' music. I can still remember the first time when I was a teenager listening, pressing play on that cassette to hear Crazy Train. You know, I still remember it. I still remember how I felt when I heard that. And it's so tragic that we lost him so young, and we can only imagine what he would have created if he was able to live longer, right? Now, some of my favorite Randy tracks off the top of my head, let's see, Mr. Crawley, Flying High Again, I Don't Know, and Over the Mountain, right? Oh my gosh, the guitar playing on that is sick. Such a technical solo. And with his days with Quiet Riot, I always enjoyed the song Trouble, and I really like that short, sweet, catchy solo of his on that. All the lead work that he does throughout the song is cool too. Trouble, good song. For guitar, do you have a favorite key to play in, and do you have a least favorite? My favorite key is probably soloing in the key of A, but it doesn't matter what key we're playing in. I'm confident to do solos in any key. It's not like, I'm bummed it's not in that. I feel fine playing in any key. My least favorite key, before I can navigate over the fretboard, was probably F. I would have frowned on F, but now it doesn't matter. Any key's fine. I've got a pretty extensive bag of licks that I can just think of to play whenever I want, or whenever I can remember them, right? But with my knowledge of the fretboard and knowing where the patterns are, I can just whip up something. Sometimes just going for it, reaching for something, taking a chance. Sometimes that's some of the best performances and best feelings playing live. And when you're recording something, if you're in a session and you just go for it sometimes that's when the magic happens as well. Sometimes you can do something really cool that you didn't know you could do, and you probably have trouble maybe recreating it again. What is your favorite type of inlay design on a guitar? I've always thought those Western style inlays on those first Chet Atkins guitars were really cool, right? On the 6120, they look really neat. And even though Chet really didn't like them, I think they're cool looking. What is one piece of advice you'd give yourself after 1 year of guitar playing? Maybe I would say to myself, be a little more patient with yourself. That first year of playing guitar was pretty tough on me. Playing the instrument definitely didn't come natural. But everybody learns at different speeds, and I would get frustrated seeing peers who started at the same time I did who were making better progress, and it did frustrate me. But that's something I would just, say to myself, take it easy. And Damian, not to sound like my mom when I was a little kid, don't worry about what others are doing, right? Give us your most unlikely guitar influence. Perhaps a musician that would really surprise your audience. Well, when I was a 12 and 13-year-old, I really dug Poison, and guitarist CC DeVille, I kind of idolized the guy at that age. But hey, I know CC gets a lot of hate out there, but in the studio, man, I think he's pretty awesome on those records. The Nothing But a Good Time solo, that's a hard solo, and it's a cool sounding solo, and that's a good solo. I'd like to see anyone else try to play that flawlessly. It's tough. Yeah, CC DeVille of Poison, one of my first guitar idols. I've noticed you're into punk and hardcore. Can you name me some of your favorite bands in those genres? Oh boy, there's so many to pick from. Where would I even start? I'll just name off a few. The Misfits, Broken Bones, Fugazi, Breakdown, Sex Pistols, NoFX, Minor Threat, DRI, Youth of Today, Sick of It All, Warzone, Gorilla Biscuits, and the Bad Brains. Damian, what do you think of modern players with all their technical wizardry? What could they learn from old school players? What could they learn? Could they learn anything from music from the past? Well, certainly. I mean, anything that you learn how to play, whether it's present or from years past, is going to help improve yourself. But a lot of the modern players are amazing and have a lot of talent. And the things that they're doing are certainly very impressive. Practically mind-blowing stuff. A lot of these styles some of these players are doing, I don't even comprehend it. I don't even know if I could ever do that. But the guitars that they play are super dialed in. And the action is super low. And these guitars are just made to shred. And I imagine if I was just to play on one, it would probably be very easy to play. It'd be smooth as butter, right? But on the other hand, what about taking an old guitar, playing a guitar that gives you a little bit of a struggle? That could be fun. Playing a guitar where you got to fight for the notes, reach for it and fight for it. An older guitar, it's got a lot of mojo and a lot of mileage on it. One that makes you fight for the notes. That's where some magic can really start to happen, Sometimes things can sound so good when you got to work a little bit. Damian, if you were playing in a punk or hardcore band, would you prefer humbuckers or P90s? Both would be fine, but I have no problem using a guitar with P90s playing that type of music. I got a gold top Les Paul Epiphone that sounds great playing that type of music. Either or would sound great, in my opinion. I love P90 pickups, and they're great for so many different genres, and I think they work perfectly for that. Go for it if you're interested. Some of the fattest sounding power chords that I've ever achieved have been with guitars with P90s. Kelly Kent asks, do you know how to make guitar solos from chords instead of scales? Yes, and that's something that I could go into more in depth about in a future lesson. And in my last lesson, I think we talked about how a couple of the licks in the solo I was teaching were derived from chord shapes. You know, being able to look at a chord shape when you're soloing is just another great way to express yourself when playing solos. Very good question, Kelly. Thank you. All right, my buddy Claudio from Belgium asks, am I gonna have a DVD download for Jazz Blues? Yes, I am, and I am working on it. I've got about 10 of the lessons finished. I gotta admit though, I'm moving pretty slowly on it. Having these 2 hurricanes happen over this past year really kind of messed me up. You know, I've been dragging on some things, and I gotta get the ball moving on that. But yes, I am working on that. It's a Jazz Blues course. It'll be on DVD and download. And to kind of answer a question from Chris Alexander about doing a Grant Green lesson, yeah, I'll be doing some Grant Green stuff, but I'm kind of waiting on some of the Jazz Blues type of thing lessons until after my Jazz Blues course comes out, so I can kind of promote that along with the lessons. So some of the Jazz Blues lessons I'm holding off on, but we will definitely be getting to that stuff as soon as I release that course, for sure. Definitely. Otis Small asks, would you ever consider doing one-on-one lessons via Zoom, webcam? I love doing one-on-one lessons, and in the future I would like to do Zoom lessons like that. Right now my schedule is pretty crazy. It is pretty hectic. I've always enjoyed doing one-on-one lessons with players, so I'd love to get back into doing such things when time allows, for sure. Damian, please tell us about your hardcore roots. How did you get into it? What bands do you like or still listen to? Bands you've seen? Favorite show? All right, let me try to answer this here. Well, I'm still listening to hardcore music still to this day. You know, lately I've been listening to a lot of Slapshot. Great Boston hardcore, right? Good stuff. In the mid 80s, you know, almost to the 90s, maybe let's say 88, I got really heavily into the youth crew movement of the New York hardcore scene. And I just love the music. I love the positivity, you know, the lyrics. I love the sheer power of the music. And it was really cool, you know, living nearby New York City because that scene was happening, you know, as I was growing up. And I was old enough to kind of be in it and participate in it. It was a good time to be that age, to be living there. And Youth of Today was the first band that I had heard and listened to in that scene. And man, I loved it. Now, I've seen a bunch of hardcore bands, you know. Shelter always brings up a good memory of a great show. But I have to admit, in the 90s, and I saw this band a lot in the 90s, going to a Fugazi show was always something really special. You know, you'd have punk rockers there, you know, just regular people. You'd have the hardcore kids there. Everyone would come together. Everybody behaved at a Fugazi show. We were all like-minded individuals. It was cool just to be among like-minded people who were in a cool scene. We were different than the other cookie-cutter kids. You know, it was a place I loved going to see those shows. Man, Fugazi was such a cool band. I know they're not hardcore, kind of post-hardcore, if you will. Post-hardcore emo, sort of, or grandfathers of emo. Yeah, the Fugazi shows, yeah, I wish, if I could go back in time, you know, wish I could go to one of those shows that I saw. What a great era of music. What a great time that was. I enjoy it. Wish I could go back. All right, well, thank you everyone for those questions. Thank you so much. I hope I didn't bore you to death. I really did. Whew, that took a while. And again, if I didn't get to your question, I really do apologize. There was just so much. If you guys enjoyed this, you know, let me know, and maybe we can do it again sometime. All right, so now, before I go, I'd like to leave you with some inspiring words. Don't wait for things to get better. Life will always be complicated. Learn to be happy in the here and now, or otherwise you may run out of time. And with that, friends, I'm going to say goodbye to you. Much love to you all. Stay safe, and I'll see you soon in another guitar lesson. Take care, everybody, and bye-bye.